Hi, this is Scott Park Phillips with Masterpiece Theater. And I'm going to be talking about Chinese martial arts, mostly, their connection to religion and theater. One of the biggest problems people have with the material I've been putting out, my book and that sort of thing, is understanding what happened in Chinese culture after the Boxer Uprising, because it's simply not talked about. Only in the last 15 years have scholars started to discuss, religion scholars started to discuss the issue of what they call the Christian secular normative model and how it conquered China. And if you read in theater, the sort of politics of theater material, you find exactly the same thing happened. It's this model, what I call the YMCA model, conquered China. And of course the same thing happened in martial arts, because before the Boxer Uprising, martial arts, theater, and religion were a single thing. Martial arts was simply part of religion and part of theater. And religion and theater were the same thing. Anyway, one of the kind of catches that people get is they don't realize that Chinese religion was a comic tradition, whereas in the West, our religion is a tragic religion. So religion is defined primarily by the idea that you have a set of beliefs that no matter how much things are falling apart around you, how much pressure and adversarialism you experience, you don't give up your beliefs. And that's the definition of a tragedy or a tragic religion. And the Chinese tradition, things weren't going well, you just changed deities or changed temples. And it was really dynamic. If the sacred text you're using didn't work, you found a medium and you channeled a new one. It was comic. In fact, it was comic because when it comes up against pressure or adversarial problems, it changes, it laughs. You even have the tradition of rolling the dice to pick leaders. At the village level, you're picking leadership from among the powerful families. And so you roll the dice, and these dice are used for divination of all sorts. You roll the dice and you get a yes this guy or no this guy. There's also indeterminate, which is like roll again. And then there's the gods are laughing. It's just the way that the dice land means the gods are laughing at you. And it's like, what's your problem? It's like self-reflective comic attitude that was absolutely fundamental to the Chinese worldview. And that became a source of humiliation for Chinese people. And they themselves, under the influence of groups like the YMCA and other evangelicals that were extremely successful in China, under their influence, they actually suppressed the comic worldview and the comic view of religion that martial arts comes out of. Arts like Tai Chi Chuan and Zhang are the dances of transgressive gods that break the rules, gods that flip things upside down. In fact, the entire Taoist idea of the golden elixir is about inverting things or flipping them on their head or taking them outside of normal orientation and reorienting them from the other side. That kind of thing. And when you talk to really high-level internal martial artists, they say things like, well, this is what you should be doing right now. This is good. That's correct right now. But if you're asking me what comes next, it's going to be the opposite. Or you're going to have to completely drop that idea and do something completely different. Because it's comic, it's not tragic. It changes big. It flips. And again, it's an orientation toward the world. So this came up at the Taoist conference I was just at in Los Angeles, where there was this group of great people who've been working with a Taoist master and translated this whole book, and they're out of New York, and they were saying that, okay, this is the extreme form of systemization, like how to cultivate the golden elixir in 172 steps or something like that. It's like, and they basically had 2 tracks of, do it exactly this way. And one was what they call the immortal egg, which is what I would consider the golden elixir. That's the thing. And the other was making the immortal pill in your belly. And this is what they were all doing. They were all doing what they would consider the slightly lower level. They had a little chart with one higher, one lower. And so the slightly lower level one as a preliminary. And they were all doing this and talking about how it was producing heat and light and how it was painful, and then the pain completely disappeared, and they were, and how much it improved their lives and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there going, well, I got a complete transmission of the golden elixir from my teacher, Liu Ming, and I've been cultivating it for a long time, and it's been nothing but disheveled, just hair flying all over the place. There's no order. Like, it is about the process is about the establishing order out of chaos and then returning to chaos. The idea that you would have a strict order is a view from somewhere. So where is it a view from? Well, this is one of the things I keep telling people is you've got to read and become familiar with Chinese literature, because this is the stuff that every Chinese, 10-year-old knew by heart. And it underlies everything. And if you don't know it, it's really easy to be misled or confused and to fall into these strange, I would call them comic traps. So I'm going to tell you the story of Xuanwu. The story of Xuanwu is called Beiyouji, or Journey to the North. And Xuanwu was a god, not just any god, but a god who was at the on the back tower. It was called a tower temple. It was the back tower of every, or say 80% of villages across the entire northern swath of China had a Xuanwu deity, or a Zhang, which is another name for the deity, at the back, and essentially guarding the village from northern attack, because that happened when the Mongols invaded, and there was a lot of people died, and so when they rebuilt these villages, they put that big tower of Xuanwu there. So everybody knew Xuanwu and made offerings to Xuanwu and did rituals. So Xuan means dark or mysterious, and Wu means martial, like wushu. And Zhangwu, with another name, is perfected warrior. Zhang is perfect, and Wu, again, martial. So the story of Beiyouji is the transformation of Xuanwu to Zhangwu. It's a kind of like he's getting promoted or canonized. He's getting a higher place in the hierarchy of being, you could say. So in the story, it starts out with the Jade Emperor, who is up in heaven, and the Jade Emperor is, it's a god, but there's a human-like quality to him. It doesn't actually have a biography, but it's got a human quality. So a human in Chinese culture has 3 hun and 7 po, and the po are everything that pulls down, and the hun are everything that pulls up. And so when you die in the first 3 days, the hun float away and expand to the outer edges of the cosmos. And the po hang out for 7 years. So funerals are really important and happen in intervals of 7 and 49 and that kind of thing. And this was like a complete funeral takes actually 49 years. And so the po are basically dissolved into the earth in 7 years, unless they're really unresolved, like from a suicide or a battlefield death, something like that. Of course, those people who die that way can't be on the ancestral altar. They have to be in specialized shrines. And essentially, the real religious tradition of Xuanwu, that's what happened. He's probably beheaded on the battlefield as a general fighting. There was a general who was beheaded on the battlefield on horseback and kept fighting for 5 more hours without a head, or some story like that, right? And so he becomes a god, right? That I could talk about this for a lot longer, but I want to tell you the story. So the Jade Emperor is up there, and he has this desire. He sees an object, I don't know, it's a vase or something, down on earth, and he's like, oh, that's so beautiful, I want that. And so one of his hun escapes his body and flies down to earth and gets reborn as a kind of desire body. And as it grows up, it comes in contact with this vase and sets off this kind of chain of events whereby the hun can't return. This one hun, sometimes translated as spirit, can't return to heaven until it resolves its desire body. So what happens? You probably heard in Tai Chi, you hear the expression, "Jade Maiden works the shuttles." So basically, every time this hun of the Jade Emperor, which becomes known as Xuanwu, every time Xuanwu dies, he's reborn, and then so you hear about the birth, and then you hear the sun and moon rose and fell like the weavers of a shuttle, like the shuttles of a weaver's womb, or the fair maiden's shuttles, fair maiden's shuttles loom, going back and forth or up and down, right? What it means is a lot of time passing. It's actually a moment in the Tai Chi form where you're supposed to visualize a huge amount of time passing, perhaps. So that's what that word means, and it happens 72 times, I think, in the play, because he's born, and then there's no story until he gets to be 42, and then the story starts, and then he basically fails to cultivate the golden elixir, and then he's reborn again, and then there's a lot of time passes. There's the sun and moon rise like the shuttles of a weaver's loom, and then he's 15, and he goes off on an adventure, and he again fails. So there's basically 72 failed attempts at cultivating the golden elixir, and then he gets it. And so then the next half of the book, which is 1,000 chapters, or it's 100 chapters, 1,000 pages, something like that. So maybe 1,500. So the next part are the 36 what you might call thunder demons, who are these kind of demonic forces in heaven who are controlled by Xuanwu, or Zhangwu, actually, because he becomes Zhangwu at the end, right? So they're controlled by Zhangwu, and they're used on the battlefield. They're invoked for battlefields in actual militia organization. That's why these numbers, because they're actually ranks and stuff within militia. But the 36 demons are in charge in the spiritual realm of catching wayward spirits, the worst that cause violence. Basically, wayward spirits that cause violence. There are all sorts of them, but the most common ones are people who died on a battlefield, and so they go around and catch them using lightning, basically, to kill them and kill or capture. So there's these 36 demons, but the thing is, they're all crazy, and they have all run off. They were up in heaven, and now they've all run off, and they're all just pillaging and raping and doing things that are comic, like taking over, taking over a school and teaching everybody to be bad. Whatever, I can't even remember. But it's just plot after plot after plot. They're doing this, and so the next 36 chapters are basically Xuanwu capturing them. And you could actually see them all as parts of his body, his own demonic process, because certainly the most famous ones are the turtle and the snake represent his stomach and his intestines, and they grow really big and they become these, I don't know, they're like evil teenage boys, kind of. This is what I would describe them as. Really inappropriate. And anyway, he because he cut them out to make himself empty in one of the first 72 chapters, and so anyway, he goes and captures them, and they're sinking in the mud. And the first thing he does, and he does this with all 36 demons, is he tricks them into taking some of his golden elixir into their belly. Like gets them to eat it. There's a bunch of different ways it happens. But he gets the golden elixir in their belly, and then he creates a bunch of heat and light, which is like tortures them until they submit. They agree to be his servant slaves. They agree to be pacified under his authority to do his bidding. And that is basically the story. Once he's got them all, he goes back up to heaven. He has a palace. There's a few more jokes, a few more comic scenes, and then that's it. Like the order is established. So what I would say to people is if you didn't know this story and some master said to you, oh, well, you have a choice. You can do the cultivation type where you put the golden elixir pill in your belly, or you could do the immortal egg. But this one with the with the one in your belly, that's going to be like, it's going to make you really, it's going to be easier for you. It's going to make your life better. It's, you would, if you knew the story, the literature, you'd be intensely skeptical. You'd be making jokes. You'd be unruly. You'd be an unruly student. You'd be like, no, I don't want to learn that one. I want to learn the immortal egg. What are you kidding? I don't want to be your slave. Like, why would I want to do that? But these people don't know. Like, there's lots of people studying. And this is the same thing with the Tai Chi world. People are thinking that the Dantian is the belly itself, or that belly region itself, rather than the spatial imagination out here, your capacity to balance. They think it's actually your belly. And, well, that makes you a servant of your master, because you'll never actually get it until you give that idea up. But you might be powerful. You might be like a righteous demon, but you won't ever get it till you drop that idea. And I could go on like this. This is happening over and over, that people are not getting the basic metaphors. Even I talked before about jin or neijin, like the idea that it would come through your body, and like up through your legs, controlled by your waist, out your hands. That's the Tai Chi classics say don't do that. If you understand Taoist literature, if you've read even a little bit of Taoist literature, I would think you would get that idea that you stay in the middle. You don't travel out, and you don't store power in your body, and it doesn't need to follow along pathways of your body. It's outside. It's outside. Your body is Jing. It's consolidated as a single unit that's empty of intent. Anyway, I just wanted to lay this out there, that when you understand the literature, it opens up huge opportunities for improving the way you study and the way you see the practice, and for exploring the idea of a comic religion, a comic religion that is integrated with the theater and that is deeply expressive. Anyway, that's Master Peach Theater. I'm Scott Park Phillips, and thank you for listening. You can buy my books at Amazon.com, and you can get free downloads at academia.edu. Also, please subscribe if you like this video. Thanks.